Welcome to my virtual campfire. I'm Krystal Kelly. In Season 2, I am exploring with you as masters of our own experience in an epic and unique time in the history of conscious life. We are all being called to do something unknown. I'm turning to the ancient wisdom when fire was the quantum shift that catapulted humanity. Now, we are the shift. When we connect consciously, we are connected with the new earth. We become the new earth human family. Through vibrations and conversation, let's enter this superhighway of consciousness and co-create within the quantum realm of light.
Basically, I don't ever have a plan. This is a virtual campfire. You sit next to someone and you just start talking to them. So that's the point of my, but my season, this is season 2 for me. I'm really exploring higher consciousness and how we're, I think this is a major transition for humanity. So I'm really trying to focus on conversations that I hope to be change agents for the future. And when I mean future, I mean future generations, not just, because we need to make small changes to make a difference. And we got to start somewhere.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And so, when I talk to people like you, I think I can't think of a better person to be molding our youth. I mean, we've known each other since middle school.
Right.
And your mom was a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So I know you're at least a second generation teacher, if not
third.
Okay. I kind of thought that, but I couldn't remember if that was right. So you're a third generation teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, in indigenous cultures, things teachers and wisdom keepers, they go down lineages, it's kind of passed down. So I feel if you really have that, maybe that's your soul connection of teaching.
I did not get my degree in teaching.
Oh, really?
I tried everything in my power to avoid going into teaching.
That's so funny.
Because growing up, it was everybody, oh, are you going to be a teacher like your mom? Are you going to be a teacher like your mom? I'm like, no, I want nothing to do with teaching. And so I actually got my degree in exercise science, and then worked for Boeing for 6 months before I was like, this is ridiculous. I'm just meant to be a teacher. And so I went back and got my master's. Oh, master's in teaching, MIT. That's what you thought.
That's what it is. Okay.
Yeah. And so I got my master's in teaching, and then that's what I've been doing for the last 20 whatever years. So
wow.
Yeah.
And so from what it sounds like you want to do, so you teach 4th, 5th, and 6th graders, so preteens.
Yes.
And you're hoping to do a weekly meditation or daily, or what are you thinking?
I'm hoping to do daily. So it's a little bit self-serving on my part, but also I would say mostly for recognizing where the kids are coming into this year. And so, I mean, I've got kids all over the board, kids who have been with me the whole time. And that's what's nice about having kids 3 years is I've really gotten to know them, and I've seen them in the classroom. I've seen them only online. I've seen them in hybrid. And so, but there are some who are brand new to me that I don't know, and some that chose to not come back at all during hybrid. So I've got some students for whom this will just be second nature, and other kids whom they've never been into a classroom in a hybrid model at all. No face masks in the classroom, no, have to eat outside 6 feet apart. And so I'm kind of recognizing that, oh my gosh, not only do they have this huge swath of experiences, but they're also getting, they're absorbing their parents' anxieties, they're absorbing their parents' ways of viewing and their opinions on the vaccine. And especially now with teachers have to be mandatory vaccinated by October, that just came down, and and it's all over. And so my original thinking was, I've got to do something to get these kids just right from the get-go every day, just come in, decompress, let's talk about your frustrations, your anxieties, your concerns. I mean, it can be about anything. But then for me, I think I told you I was in a pretty bad car accident 2 years ago, and I've been dealing with brain stuff. And so like still just, I'll just lose things, you know, like, where's the word? I'm looking for a word, you know, and it's worse for me when I have to do a lot of thinking, like if a whole bunch of things are coming at me all at once, if I have to spin around and address a bunch of different people. And so I'm thinking, when is the worst part of the day for that for me? And it's at the beginning of the day. You know, it's like, oh, I have this note, I need to make a phone call, I forgot my lunch, you know, I need to turn this in. And I'm constantly just spinning, and I'm like, no, okay. So I'm hoping for daily is what I'm hoping, just like 10 to 15 minutes a day. Something that becomes routine, but I would love the conversation to be organic. You know, just like, I don't want it to be like, okay, we're going to talk about this and then we do this. I mean, I would love for it just to be something that it's what the kids need every day. So something that is organic enough that it can just be what it has to be.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of times people will like ask me like, well, what is meditation, or how do I do it? Like, do I have to sit still? You know, like all these questions. And I always say that like meditation can take many, many forms. So my guess is that all of your students are going to have different aptitudes of what they can like sustain as far as like learning. And so for people that are really kinetic, they have a hard time sitting still. And I know like
my kids.
Yeah. And I'm that way. And so when I had a similar issue, I had a brain and spinal cord infection. Oh, wow. And that's what got me into meditating. It was like in 2007, this happened. And so I didn't have the memory thing so much, but I had a balance issue. I couldn't like walk in a straight line. Like if I got pulled over for like a DUI, it would have looked like I was drunk, because like I just couldn't like walk in a straight line. And then sometimes like I would completely lose my balance, like not knowing. And so I started really studying like neuroscience and the brain's plasticity, and I developed this idea that we can heal ourselves. And so that really took me down this and this is all self-study. It's not like I have a degree in anything like other than my degree in communications, but like I started studying Buddhism and meditation and how meditation can rework your brain. And then I thought, I'd read all about it, but I hadn't really like tried it, you know? And for me, I did walking meditation. And I first started, I would wear headphones and listen to music, and I would walk for a couple hours without any contact of talking to anybody or anything. And it really allowed me to like process things. And I think I was kind of reworking my brain. And so my sitting practice of meditation didn't come for a long time, because I am that like really kinetic, like I'm probably ADD, quite honestly, you know, like I can't sit still. And so what I was thinking, because I was trying to brainstorm, okay, we've got these preteen kids, how are we going to get them all on the same page? And I know when I was a teenager, and I don't know if you'll remember this, but Katie Otto and I used to knit. And to me, when I started meditating, I realized like some of these things I did when I was younger were actually meditating. I just didn't have any vocabulary for it. So I'm wondering if you could get like, for the kids that really want to be doing something, you get them a simple task like a fidget spinner or something that the kids are into. I don't know what, but the idea would be that they would do it in their hands while sitting still. So maybe it's clay. Like they just like, you know, like kind of mush clay together, or something kinetic that they can be doing with their hands. But the understanding is that they will be sitting there. And when they have that in their hands, they can't talk. Is what I'm thinking. And these are all just ideas, because I I don't teach kids on a daily basis, so I don't know if these things translate to like your classroom setting. But then I think there will be the kids who want to sit still. So you can give them the choice, like you can have something in your hand or you can just sit still. And the biggest thing with meditating is getting in touch with your breath.
Okay.
So I think this is, okay, so this is what I visualize in your classroom, is that when your kids come in, you would have the lights down low and maybe the shades drawn so that it's low, it's calming. And then I would have like almost like meditation music on, or I don't know if you can play music in your classroom, but something instrumental that has like a calming feeling. And then like I would establish from the first day just a routine of you put your things away and then you come sit in whatever space it is that you want to have be the meditation space.
Yeah, and so far it's exactly what I was thinking.
Okay, cool. And then I have so one of the teachers that I've learned a lot from, Karah, Pino, she lives in Salt Lake City and she has a lot of experience teaching kids, and she sent me some resources of articles and different things that I'm going to share with you that I think are really good talking points that you can kind of get kids to. I think it would be smart to do like 5 minutes at least of just breathing. And so in the beginning, you're probably going to have to guide them through this, but it would be and I'll send you a meditation that you can kind of listen to and learn from. And what I really do with meditations is I find that I listen to a lot of different people's guided meditations, and I take little pieces of things that I like from all of them and I kind of meld them together into my own. So I think what's really important to know when you're guiding or helping out, every day it might be a little different. Like it's like if you just, it'll be natural if you're natural with it. You know, like if you're just like, you know, today let's just take a deep, like a real deep breath in, you know, like just to get started, like, and just like let it out and like start like that on some days. Some days it might be gentle, you know, just like, or, you know, however, whatever you're kind of feeling. But I think all of those little tasks that like bombard you, I think you just don't let any of the kids even like really talk to you before the meditation's over. And then I think by that time, everyone will be more centered and more grounded. And then, you know, you can open up conversation maybe in your meditation circle, like after you guys kind of breathe. And, you know, I can't imagine exactly how it'll go because like, I don't know how the kids like, you know, I don't know exactly how it'll go for you, but I think that, I think it's a wonderful concept.
I'm super excited about it. My kids are pretty darn amazing. They're highly motivated. It's a highly capable class.
Okay.
And so some are, you know, like your super smart, brainy kids, and others are just by sheer determination and will, you know, they're in the class. But they're all just super sweet, and none of them really push back on ideas. They have a lot of faith in me. So if I say, hey, we're going to try this new thing, they'll be like, oh, okay. You know, they're pretty much on board with, they're so just like, okay, whatever. So I think they'll like it. You know, some might be like, okay, whatever, but they probably wouldn't say anything. But when they recognize that what they would otherwise be doing is probably sitting at a desk doing work, they're probably going to be all over it. So,
because it'll end up being their ultimate free time. And something that like you're doing for them is bigger than they will ever know. Establishing a practice like that, like, I mean, it's almost like a daily ceremony that you're establishing for them. And no matter what's going on in their lives, I would only think that when things get kind of crazy, they would wake up in the morning and they'd be like, I want I want to start my day in that place where I started Miss Brumley's class. So if people come in and they're bummed about something that happened at home or whatever, the news, people to be bummed about these days.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, so the likelihood of them coming in, maybe not super positive,
right,
is a good possibility. And so if they can you can bring them to that level, like almost instantly, of like, imagine, your favorite thing and the thing that brings you the most joy, whether it's your pet or your, whatever. You can give them ideas or not. And then when they have that in their head, they take a deep breath in and they breathe in all of that joy of that thing that they love in their mind. And when they breathe out anything that doesn't serve them.
Okay.
So your nerves, like it's first day of class, like anything that you're worried about, your grades, your argument you had with your sibling, like each time you breathe in that joy. And then every time you breathe out, you get rid of something that doesn't help your day, And so I think if you kind of started in that way, they would immediately get in tuned with their mind, and it's kind of a subtle and gentle way of, you don't even have to call it meditating for them. You can just call it your activity circle, or I don't know what you.
Oh, they'll be all over calling it meditating, because meditating sounds very adult.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay,
So they'll be all over it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, see, I don't know stuff like that. Like, but yeah, like I think you make it cool and fun, and then like as they get better at it, and it, like they can come in one day and you can say, today we're going to go to a unicorn kingdom, and we're going to, and you take them to like an imaginative place, and you take them there in their minds, and you just have fun with it. So whatever they're into, I don't know, like my 6-year-old's into unicorns, so like I'm doing these unicorn things lately, but like when I take her to the unicorn planet, like she really thinks it's there, and she's like living in kind of like this fantasy for a minute, but like it's good because it gets their creative juices going.
So would that be a good time to incorporate just like a fun fantasy story that I am reading to them, or is it truly me making something up?
Well, I would say whatever you're more comfortable with, because like I know sometimes like I don't want to imaginative play because my adult brain is tired and I can't.
Right.
So we unprogram ourselves as we get older, so it can be harder and harder to be that way. So if it's easier to read a story, then I'd say read a story.
Okay.
And you meditate like 20 minutes a week. So you don't, not even every day. You can increase the level of cortisol in your brain, and that helps with stress, with all these things that these kids are experiencing right now, like just I can't imagine all the stresses that they have, but I'm sure there's plenty of anxiety. I mean,
yeah, for sure. I mean, but it's anxiety about, I almost feel like they are subjected to more anxiety almost than we are, because it's not just the news that we are, and it's not just what's going on with your family, but it's did they forget their lunch and they got an argument with a friend and they don't know how to resolve it. Like as adults, okay, if I forgot my lunch, I either go hungry or I have money and I go somewhere, but like there's so many things that are out of their control, or they don't yet know how to fix or control. So I almost feel like it's almost worse for kids in terms of anxiety than for adults, because we can do things about it, and they either don't have the skills or the means to do it. And there's just so much stuff that they're faced with by 8:30 in the morning every day.
Yeah. In all reality, they create their reality, and that's what meditation helps, I think, just knowing who they are as individuals in their own minds, you know, that that self-awareness, and knowing that they're, you know, they're a part of this collective whole, but they're also an individual part of it. So
we're just in like a portable classroom. And so literally it is, you know, 4 walls, 20 feet by 30 feet, you know, minimal stuff, because you have to fit 28 bodies inside this tiny little classroom.
yeah.
So from the very beginning, they recognize that you have to work as a team.
Yeah.
By being an individual, like you have to make good choices to get along with other people. You have to, you know, do things that aren't going to upset the general, like, whole population.
Yeah.
And so the idea of that you had just said that you're part of the collective whole, but you're an individual, that's something that, like, just by necessity, we have to address right from the get-go. Like, they have to recognize that the decisions you make are going to impact others, especially when for 7.5 hours you are in this tight little tiny space. And so, yeah, so it sounds like this is all just, it's really just helping to solidify the message that we start every year with. And so I think this is going to be fantastic.
I think, like, if you start listening to these meditations, and I think you'll be able to pull out the parts that you think will help the kids. And you'll be able to know kind of, and all at the same time, improving yourself.
Yeah.
You know,
usually, honestly, I am the last person that I think of. But after dealing with this for 2 years and missing out on 2 months of school in 2020 because of this, and then thankfully I just had a super good student intern last year, so I didn't have to take more time off. I just expected that my brain would be healed by now, and it's just not. And so
the brain takes a long time to heal.
Yeah, evidently, like, who knew? I had no idea, you know. And so now I'm like, I can't afford it. I can't do this to the kids again. They had 8 substitutes in 2 months. It was
that's
awful.
tough.
I can't do that to them again. I can't continue to worry about them being here, you know. And so I was like, I have to take care of myself. I got to move myself up. And so hopefully by addressing my own personal needs, I'm also addressing theirs.
Yeah.
Because like I said, they come in with all sorts of anxieties every day.
Yeah.
You know, they're all trying to put out little anxious fires.
Yeah. And it's, you know, there's a saying that says, like, you can't help others until you help yourself. But I was reading something really interesting the other day that said, if you're, like, really flowing with life, you can simultaneously help yourself and others at the same time. And that to me was like, wait, that's such an amazing concept to think that, like, because sometimes I think, oh, that's kind of selfish to, like, help yourself first, especially, like, as a mom, you know, like, for sure, when you have, like, you know, other responsibilities and your children are small and you're, you know, working so hard, it can be overwhelming, you know. So thinking of taking time for yourself is like, I can't do that, you know. But when I realized that, like, wait, it can be, like, why can't life flow like that? Like, why can't I be doing something good for myself and good for the kids at the same time? And I feel like that's what you're really doing. Like, you're like, okay, obviously you like what you do. You've been doing it for 25 years. And now things have changed because you had that accident. How do you still make it work for yourself? You know, and taking time to learn these meditations is a really, it's pretty cool. You know? And like I said, I tend to have these ideas like, oh my gosh, that'd be so cool, but I have no know-how, you know. It's like, I don't know how to get any of this implemented, which is why this is so exciting for me. I just think the more young people that can learn these tools, because these are, like, tools that are just given to us. And everyone can meditate. Like, it's not like, it's not like, even if you had any sort of physical disability, like, everyone can meditate. Like, if you can breathe, if you're alive, you can meditate.
I have a completely random question for you. So I love when things that I want to do kind of out of my own little creative mind tie with with the curriculum. It really helps me justify it to parents if I get pushback from them.
Mm-hmm.
So what are the ties to other religions or civilizations for, I mean, obviously Buddhism, with meditation, because that's my 6th grade. I'm on a 6th grade rotation this year, and we're talking about ancient civilizations. So we talk about China and Greece and Rome, and, you know, all the ancient civilizations. And so I was wondering, like, is there documentation or whatever of meditation being practiced in those early civilizations, maybe in different forms or whatever? Like, is there, could I use that as something?
Yeah, so one of the most ancient forms of, I guess, meditation involve ceremony. And I mean, some people call it maybe ritual. I like to use the word ceremony because I think that it doesn't have religious context as much. And it ritual kind of has like some negative ideas in my head. Right. So like some of the choices of words I think are really important when you're, you know, kind of laying the conversation to begin with. But, you know, having ceremonies that like, one thing that they'll, I think, have maybe heard of is like a rain dance. So that is a group meditation. That is when, and they do it with song. And so like one thing that can be kind of fun with the kids is to have them hum.
Oh, okay.
So they all hum together. So like, you know, and you can start it off like just like hum, or you can om, or, you know, whatever, and everyone does it together. And that, I mean, that's ancient. Like that goes back to our like earliest civilizations of things that were written on like cave walls, or people doing the ceremony. So props like that. And it might be things that you introduce like halfway through the year, you know, like not right away, but like as they're getting more into it, you can level up a little bit, you know, and kind of introduce fun things. I'm trying to think of like what sort of pushback you would get from parents for doing it. I don't think anyone would have a problem with this.
Yeah, I think now I probably won't, because I think a lot of parents will probably be like, wow, I wish I could be a part of that, and just take some time to myself in the day. And I would love to even invite parents in. I do that all the time. Like, hey, come in, be a part of what we're doing. We can't now because COVID says, you know, nobody in the class. Typically, I could see them like, okay, you're spending time doing what? Like, didn't you just get a new reading curriculum that's supposed to take 90 minutes of your day? And didn't you just get a new writing curriculum that's supposed to take 90 minutes a day? I think just for so many reasons, like the stars have really aligned, you know, that I think this is just the perfect time to be implementing something like this.
I agree.
So, yeah.
I think that I know you could think of it as taking time away from your curriculum, but I think what you'll find is that the kids will be more focused and you'll be more focused, and you'll, I think you'll just not even need as much time as the district thinks you need for those things because of your ability to focus.
That's kind of what I was hoping. You know, like if we just kind of address that, you have concerns today, and let's see what we can do to tackle them today, and just kind of clear our minds, and just be able to go forward and just kind of release that. I'm kind of about through the rest of our day, just ready to be in the present, you know, and do what we need to do. So that's my hopes and dreams anyway.
I think, I mean, as we're talking about it, I'm like, gosh, this is genius. Like this is such a good idea. But I'm almost curious to talk to you in 6 months and see how it's going.
Right.
You know, like the actual application of like, okay, you know, I wanted the kids to start in this way, but they took it to this other way, or, you know, I'm curious, like how this is, how it's going to go.
Right. I think it's going to be great. My only, concern is I don't want it to be something, it's like it's tricky, because I want it to be something that they're familiar with every day, but they get bored really easily.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you have to, it's like, how do I keep it exciting, and yet at the same time, something that becomes a routine that they could, practice, themselves, So, so I think that's going to be what I struggle with, because you just don't want to overdo a good thing. Not that I think you could overdo this, but like, I don't want them to be like, oh, we're going to meditate again.
Right.
So how do I keep it something, how do I get it to be something that they will miss when they don't get it?
Yeah.
I guess that's my end goal, is I want them to see the value in it, and I want it to be something that they ask for, and that, it's not just this routine, like, oh, okay, this is what we do. Like,
like, oh, she's making us do this again.
Right. Exactly.
I think like, some things just that kind of come to mind that like just popped into my head when you were saying that is, like having, after you give them different, types of, like guided things where you're the one doing it. I almost wonder if like each day after they get the system down and what it is that, you let each kid do their own guided meditation, so like, I wonder what they'd come up with, like, I wonder if like some kids would like build Minecraft houses in their minds, and then like other people would walk you through a forest or, through a swimming pool or so, I don't know, like, I just wonder if.
Yeah. And that was the story part you were talking about, right? Where everybody just kind of tells their own story. So my other question is, when they're doing the breathing and, they're breathing in the good and, just kind of exhausting out the bad, are they, like, I don't know about you, but I'll be reading a book and making my grocery list in my head.
Yeah.
Or, it's like, is that what we're trying to avoid? Like, you're only focusing on breathing in and breathing out and just getting rid of all other thought? Or?
Well, so it's a really good question, because like, as you're breathing, as I breathe, I do the same thing. Like, I start thinking about something and sometimes it's completely unrelated. Kind of what it says is that when you have those moments of like, oh, the garbage truck got in the way, like you hear the garbage truck outside, and then you start thinking, oh, whatever little rabbit hole your mind goes down. And then you think of what you acknowledge, that you think of those things like, oh, but right now I'm breathing. And then you take in a new breath. And you acknowledge that you thought those things, but you come back to your breath. And so sometimes I find that like, I'll go off on a tangent in my mind for like a minute or so, or who knows, time kind of melts away when you're meditating. You don't realize how long things are. Yeah. But I think that just knowing it's okay to do that, and you just return back to your breath. Okay. So once you realize you're doing it, and that's where the self-awareness, that's where they really learn how to become self-aware. So that like when they're in a situation, and I've even found that I'll be in really stressful situations, like say a family argument or, something. And I'm just like, before I say something. Right. Because I've just learned that, you know what? I'm thinking all this stuff that I want to say. Right. And it might not be so nice. Right. Right. Okay. So if the breathing is meant to kind of, acknowledge that you have other thoughts, but to really ultimately get in tune with your mind and your body, how does that go along with the creative storytelling? Because then you are encouraging thoughts into your mind. So it seems like they're almost at odds with each other, or that they could be symbiotic with each other. Like, you do this first to become more creative with the storytelling. Yeah, totally. Okay. So I mean, we're all yin and yang, like, you know what I mean? Like, what makes a whole, you have to have light and you have to have dark. So we have these dueling things that go on in our human lives, that like you fight with yourself over even. And so, like I said, there's lots of different types of meditation. And so each one kind of serves a different purpose, I think, like for me, my walking meditation serves a different purpose than a sitting practice, or when I'll listen to a app with someone guiding me on the meditation, or a meditation that guides you for calmness, or one that's for invigorating your, like to give you more energy. So there's a lot of different things that you get out of meditation, and there's lots of different ways to do it. And so that's why, like, I encourage you to try to like kind of listen to as many different types of meditations as you can. Because I think because you know your kids, that you'll know what they need.
Right.
So,
that would be my next question. Should it just be something where I kind of like gauge the day and then just have this like repertoire of meditations? Oh, it sounds like we're going to need some calming meditation today, or it sounds like we're going to need some invigorating meditation today.
You can even maybe ask the kids. I think starting them off with talking is not a good idea though. But like as you get into the practice and you get towards more the end of the year, and you can say, are we feeling more of a calmness today, or are we wanting, like you could kind of ask them as they learn more tools. But I think in the beginning, just really teaching them the observation of breath, and maybe you do that for like 2 weeks. You don't introduce any of the like guided ones until they really learn what that breath is. And I think like how you were saying, you just don't want them to get bored of it.
Right.
I think that there's like infinite possibilities of what you can do with them with it. So I don't think they'll get bored with it as long as it stays evolving and they're growing with you. Because that's what I kind of think will happen. I think like as you, because I had a meditation practice for years, and I never once thought I'm going to guide meditations. Like it didn't even occur to me. I was only doing it for my benefit. Like, and which was great. I had a lot of healing I needed to do, and I probably needed it. But it wasn't until we were in lockdown that I had friends ask, how do you do that? Like, I know I've heard you talk about meditation, but how do you do it? And so then I realized like, oh my gosh, like a lot of people don't really actually know, like people I thought meditated had no idea what I was even talking about, like, and I was like, wait, what? You don't meditate? Like, like everyone does it. So I don't know why, but then all of a sudden I realized that there was a need for teaching just an initiation of it, and I thought, oh, I guess I'll guide some meditations. And I did like some streaming ones on like Facebook Live and stuff. And like the response was kind of overwhelming of like how many people really want that in their life, and how they're yearning for it, like craving it almost. Right. And so all of a sudden I'm like guiding meditations. So then I'm like going back to like some of my meditation teachers that I've had over the years that are, more into that. And I'm like learning along with like teaching you too. You know what I mean? Like this is all just a part of the process. It's like I'm not a meditation expert. I've had a long practice of it, but like, now I just find that my role is sort of shifted, and I'm a little more of a teacher of it. And so I think that, you're becoming a student and a teacher at the same time. Right. Which is kind of a unique way, but I think why not?
And it's actually perfect for me because that's how I learn best. Like I don't learn very well by just reading or by observing. Like I have to do it, right? I have to apply it. So this is really the perfect kind of situation for me.
Yeah. And that's really important, is the doing part of it. I, in May, was trekking with this shaman on Mount Shasta, and he said that he had a group, and he had asked them if they knew what meditation was. And they were like, oh yeah, we've read about it. We like, and they knew a whole bunch, like they, were like telling him all about meditation. And then he asked, well, has anyone ever meditated? And they were all like, well, like actually done it? And like no one in the group had actually meditated. Like they'd read about it and like,
Right.
And so it's that practicality of it, like the practice of it.
Mhm.
And and that's what is so important. And I know that like there's a lot of times I think there's no time in my day.
Right.
Like, I do not have time for meditating. And on those days, that's okay, because that's just how it is. But I know that in my mind, when I do have time, I will focus on it, because I know how much better I feel, how much more able I'm to deal with things that are unforeseen, like
Mhm.
teenagers' emotions.
Yep, I hear you there.
Like, so in the world that we're in right now, where there's just such a huge shift going on, and things are changing so much. I mean, all of us are going to have to learn to be adaptable, and to be more fluid with things, and maybe not get so caught up in like what's expected versus what can actually happen versus, so I just think teaching kids how to meditate will give them tools that are, it really is a science of a lost art of like how you were bridging it back. Like it's almost like I kind of can't believe that you're studying ancient civilizations at the same time as teaching meditation, because it's a huge bridge. And relearning these wisdoms, like indigenous wisdoms and of the ancient cultures, is really where the future should be focusing its attention, because there's tools that have been given to humanity that we don't use, like telepathy, like psychic awareness. I could go on and on about things that aren't proven by normal science, I guess, like, or what you
Western
call
science.
What science?
Western science.
Yes, like Western science. But when you get into like the quantum realm and you start thinking more abstract, like quantum physics and those types of sciences, it proves all of this stuff that we've thought for quite a while, like, oh, that's kind of woo-woo, or that's, like, because a lot of times I even know the things that I talk about, like the generation before me, like my parents, and a lot of that generation, like it isn't quite as easy to explain to them that this is real as it is to the kids. They take it a lot better, I feel like.
They absolutely do. I tell them time and time again that I would much rather have a conversation with 28 fourth, fifth, and sixth graders than I would a room full of adults. Because adults, they're just so stuck, in what they've been either taught to believe or have come to believe, and they just want to argue everything. And kids just want to talk. They just want to talk about stuff. They don't really feel all the time that they need to be right. Like if you tell them we're just having a conversation where you're just trying to enlighten each other, they'll be like, oh, okay, so it's we're not debating it. I'll be like, no, I want to hear what you think, and I want you to hear what I think. And I want us both to come to an understanding, not necessarily an agreement.
Right.
And they're like, oh, okay. Like I can get on board with that. But you try to explain that to adults and it's like, forget it, I'm not even going to try.
Right. And
there's adaptable.
Totally. And I think that is what gives me hope for our future, is that our kids and like the generations after us, hopefully if we can give them tools like this, that they are going to be the ones that think of the ideas that solve the problems of all the inverse thinking that had happened in the past. Because now, instead of like all these, motivators being motivated off of fear and things that just don't feel that good, like jealousy or whatever it is that a lot of I think the narrative of mass media kind of makes us, believe in. I think that I think they can be a little bit more enlightened and have their own ideas about the problems and how to solve them, because there's solutions out there that are probably revolutionary, yet so simple.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think, you know, when I think of Mother Nature is abundant, you know, so it only seems natural to me that we should live in abundance. We shouldn't have starvation. We shouldn't have disease, like all these terrible things that happen in Western civilization, because there's another way to be. There's a way to be more kind and more compassionate and more like helping yourself while also helping others.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, I don't know exactly what the answers are, but I know there's a way to get there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, we're gonna have to, the shift is gonna, it's not always easy.
Right. So when I broach this to the kids, they very much in everything want to know, like, okay, well, why? You know, like what is the goal of this math lesson? What will I know by the end? What is the goal of this reading story? So what is the ultimate goal of meditation? Like, what are you trying to accomplish through meditation?
I think the ultimate goal is getting to know yourself. So, you know, in school, we're taught, so like the facts, you're taught math, you're taught science, you're taught all these things, but you never know how to get in tune with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You're never taught to get to know yourself, you know, like you get to know your friends, you get to know, but this is a special time where you can have a conversation with yourself. You can be in tune with what is going on in your mind. You know, you settle out all the other things, like just a couple minutes a day to have some deep breaths, and you don't know what you're going to find out about yourself, but you get to know yourself. And so I think that's it can be really profound, you know, because they're learning all these things and they're smart. They're, you know, they're like sponges, and they're gonna, you know, I'm sure you could teach them advanced concepts and they can grasp onto it. But probably not many people are going to teach them how to get to know themselves.
For sure.
And knowing that you do have infinite wisdom within your body that tells you, you know, like, and a good example you can give them is like, you know, when you just end up somewhere and like your stomach starts to cramp up and you're like, oh, like that is your body telling you that there's something off, you know, like, right. So if you're getting nervous about something, like pay attention, you know, your body is telling you that your biochemistry is identifying something that you don't have words for.
Right. Is there any sort of like a connection? I mean, I'm sure there is, but is it something that would be beneficial to do like meditation in conjunction with like journaling? So after you meditate, you journal about what, okay.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Like,
that's kind of what I was thinking I would do, is we would kind of roll our meditation time into a journaling time.
Yep. I think that's smart.
Okay.
The other thing too is, for some reason I was visualizing you guys sitting in a circle, but it's sounding like you're in a pretty small space.
We're gonna be like on top of each other. It's okay.
Well, because I was thinking there are meditations where you sit in a chair and you put your feet flat against the ground. And so the idea is that you're grounding into the earth. So like have them take off their shoes if that's like sanitary. I don't know if that's allowed.
It's not, but they do it all the time anyway.
Okay.
Right.
So like, you know, if they can take off their shoes and actually touch, you know, the ground essentially, like I know it's the portable, but like,
right.
They feel something underneath them. And then they can like just sit in a chair. Okay. I think that that's a perfectly great way to meditate too. You don't have to be sitting cross-legged on the ground. Like, and in fact, that might promote, you know, like they might want to like do other things when they're on the ground. So maybe sitting at their desk is the right place. I know a lot of people like say to touch your fingers to your thumbs. That can be good for kids that need a little more focus, you know, to give them something to do. I remember in high school, Mark Gabrielson had told me when you're running long runs, you're supposed to like put your pointer finger to your thumb and pretend like you're holding a potato chip.
Oh.
Yeah, but I've even done that, like,
oh my gosh, I'm totally going to try that tomorrow.
No, it's actually like, it's a really good way to like make you not focus on like what you're doing. You know, so like if you're on like this long run and you're like, oh my God, this is getting like overwhelming, I'm just going to hold this potato chip in my fingers. And it's kind of a form of meditation, you know, to like focus on something that kind of releases your mind from some turmoil, maybe.
Okay.
So like you can give them things like that, like you know, hold the potato chip in your hand, or
right.
You know, like it's so random that like I don't even know why he told me that, but we're on a long run one time and I was like, I kind of want to stop, I kind of, you know, don't want to keep going, and then he's like, just hold the potato chip, and I finished like 5 more miles.
Right. That's so funny. So it wasn't like you were supposed to be all delicate with the potato chip. It was just like you were just supposed to like pretend like you were just pinching.
Just like you're holding it. Yeah. Okay. And that you wouldn't break it, you know, because a potato chip is delicate, you know?
Yeah, right.
So like you kind of have to like keep that space, like you can't be like clinching.
Right. Right. I wonder if there's something I could give the kids that they wouldn't want to eat, that I could give them, you know, like, hold this for 5 minutes, whatever, and focus on not breaking it. Like, is there something super fragile, like, I don't know, like a dead leaf, you know, like,
that's a good one, a dry leaf.
Yeah.
Yeah. And see if they can balance it there without.
Yeah.
Right. I love that idea because it also has them touching nature.
Right.
And
we have 80 acres of forest land that we go into all the time. I could see us just like checking out and just like we'll be back by the end of the day, you know, and just sitting out there and, you know, and just kind of being.
Yeah. They could, so that's the ultimate thing to teach them is to be, you know, like we are human beings. Like it is, our higher purpose doesn't have to be complicated. You know, like we can just sit and hold potato chips all day. Like that's okay. Like it's not,
that's awesome.
It doesn't have to be like complicated. And that's the other thing too, is like, you don't have to make it serious with the kids. You can make it really fun. Like, I do think like, if you do want to start the day without the bombardment of questions, you have to put them into a zone, you know, like with an ambiance. And we are all a product of our surroundings. Like whether they realize it or not, or you realize it or not, like everything is energy. So everything that we're surrounding ourselves with is affecting us in some way. And so if you can make your classroom feel really calm, and when they enter in, they know it's a safe space. I mean, that alone could just be amazing, you know?
Yeah. And that's why I think starting the day like that is so important. So to put this on like kind of a different angle, I could never figure out why in the world the kids, or even my own kids, I'd ask them like, how'd your day go? It's fine. Well, what'd you do? I don't know. And I was like, how do you not know? Like, you just live 7.5 hours a day, but it's like you took them out of that environment and put them in a completely other environment. And that environment was just like gone, you know, they couldn't like hold it with them, or I don't know. It's just kind of interesting. And so really, and so I think going back to the beginning of the day, like if you take them out of that at home environment and you really just get them focused on school, you know, it's like you think you would come to school, you would be ready to go to school, but sometimes they just either have a hard time ready to go, or.
You know what would be kind of cool is if you give the kids, I don't know if they do homework or not, but if one of the homework things that you give them is to teach one person in their family a meditation. Yeah. And
I figured I was going to try to tie that into like my social emotional learning curriculum. I'm trying to tie all this stuff together because time is a serious issue. I can very rarely teach anything in isolation. And so if I can tie this to my history and tie it to our social emotional learning and in our health program or whatever, I think we could do some really, really good things.
I mean, to me, this will be the common thread that goes through your entire classroom. Like, and you'll be able to
use, for sure.
Yeah, you'll be able to use meditation in each, you know, health, and you'll be able to say, like, you know what we do at the beginning of the day, like that's actually like bringing down your cortisol. I mean, I don't know what you're teaching them, but you can teach them those the scientific parts of it. You can teach them the historical parts when you're talking about ancient cultures. You can, you know, it's really a common thread in all of facets of their life, like even their home life, which is why it could become homework, you know, like there's, yeah,
that's awesome. We also do these science project called science probes, where they just think about, you know, a science topic, any sort of science related question that they have, and then they go and they research it on their own. But I always lead them through one to begin with, because they're pretty in-depth research projects. This would be a perfect research project. Like, how do you meditate? Why do you meditate?
How does it affect your physical body, your emotions? You know, like there's because I know when I fall out of meditating practice, because it happens. I mean, you know, things happen, your life gets super busy. And I know when I'm out of practice, I feel more out of shape. I feel more like frustrated, like easily agitated. You know, so I definitely don't feel as healthy when I'm having a regular, you know, and it doesn't have to be every day, but like at least somewhat regularly, that you're just kind of stepping away from things and touching back into yourself, you know. And so I think you could string this through everything they're learning.
Is there a benefit to doing meditation practices at the same time every day, or just kind of like whenever something gets tossed your way, like a stressor, or?
I think everyone uses their practice in a different way. Like, I know some people really like routine, and I'm not one of those people because I'm so random. Like, I'll start my day doing one thing, and then, you know, so some days I might meditate at like 1 p.m, and other days it might be like 1 a.m. Like, you know, like I don't even know. Like, so I kind of have my own random clock, but I do think that kids benefit from routine. And so I do see opening the day with, you know, of having a routine. I think that does make a lot of sense, because you know, just my own experience with kids, like I don't have to have a schedule, but they need a schedule. So
yeah,
like,
they like to know what's coming.
Exactly. Sure. Another thing that you could do is do they, at the end of the day, do they hear a bell to leave?
They get excused by the intercom.
Oh, okay. So they
like red bus is here, and then the red bus kids go.
Okay. So one thing you could maybe try to do is to end the day, that everybody, like 10 minutes before that announcement's going to happen, they have like 5 minutes to gather all their things, and then maybe they sit in their circle or at their desk or wherever it is you decide, and they stop, and they have all their things with them, and they just sit, and maybe they have to close their eyes, and when that announcement happens, that's when they can open their eyes and leave. So you're kind of sandwiching it, you know, and at the end of the day, it's not as long, and it's not a conversation in it, but it's just like part of their process where, you know, like they just know, like they're just kind of sitting there waiting for that cue to move on. That could be a really wonderful way for them to kind of sandwich their day and have that routine, and then those last 5 minutes of them just kind of sitting with their eyes closed in silence, you know, maybe they breathe, maybe they just sit there and think, maybe they think about that really fun experiment you did today, or they're, or maybe they do think about the argument they had with their friend or something, but whatever it is, they're just silent with it. And then so it could be cool. I don't know, something to try.
Yeah. What do you think about the idea? So I was kind of thinking about this morning. Once I get better at recognizing the different types of meditations for different purposes, I was thinking if there was some way that they could non-verbally let me know where they kind of were, like in their mental state. So I don't know, I was thinking like if you had like a red and green just stamp pad and they just stuck their thumb, like I'm having a great morning and it's green, or I'm feeling pretty stressed today and it's red, and then I can just kind of get a really good snapshot really quick. And if I'm noticing like, wow, something must have happened on the bus, or, there was a crazy news story. And if I see like lots of red, then maybe I turn it into, a different sort of meditation practice that day. But if we're already feeling pretty good, then maybe it's just the breathing and continuing that.
Yeah. I think I've never heard of that, but I think it's such a good idea, because I think the key to meditating is unwinding the language. So we're conditioned through our language. The words we use describe what is in our minds, and a lot of times there's not enough words that are going to, or they might not have enough words that help them process the things in their minds. So for them to be able to give those nonverbal cues, but you still have a good read of the classroom, I think it's like, that is like genius. It's super smart. And I think I love the idea of the use of color, and you could, it's kind of profound. It's a great idea.
Yeah, it's just, and that way it's not tied to a name. I can just kind of see, or, even to have a whole conversation like, wow, we have 3 red thumbprints in here today, you guys. Like there are some classmates who could really use our support, or, I think it would benefit them if we all just kind of took some quiet time. And then it kind of addresses to those 3 anonymous kids, like, wow, somebody cares. They recognize that I'm having a bad morning and they're caring to slow things down. And so again, it's totally anonymous, but at the same time,
except that their finger would have the color on it.
Yeah, well, I'd have to give them like a wet wipe, or else.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
I'd have thumbprints all around, or maybe even a stamp. There's the stamp.
Yeah, a stamp. That's a great idea. Yeah.
But hopefully it would just be a nonverbal way for them to not draw attention to themselves, but to let me know that, hey, I'm not in a good place right now. Can we please just, take time as a class to just kind of be calm?
You know what you could do? I just had another good idea, like, because I think you can have stamps made, but if you have like a circle stamp of like a sad face, a happy face, and like a straight face. Yeah, like and they just have 3, and if they just like when they walk in, because that doesn't even require you to say anything.
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean? Because they know what those faces mean.
Right. Well, it's kind of like the airport restroom, right? Like rate your satisfaction with this restroom experience. Yeah. And you're like, oh, okay, green smiley, or red frowny face.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's like your daily market research,
Right. That's perfect. It's it's just one big social experiment.
Exactly. It is. It is.
Nice. Oh my gosh. Wow.
I think that's such a good idea. Like
I get so excited for the beginning of the year, because while I do appreciate a good routine, I do not appreciate things that are done over in repetition from year to year. Like I like establishing a routine through repetition, so kids, will get used to something and they feel comfortable with things. But doing the same thing every year, that's so not me, which is why this program where I'm kind of out there by myself without a real teammate works really well for me, because I don't have to feel like I need to do the same thing because it's what we've always done or whatever. And so I love new ideas like this, because I don't feel like I have to give anything up, because I planned on doing brand new things every year anyway.
Yeah.
And so I'm totally just so excited to do my own research and do my own practice before the school year begins, and to just get the kids just really on, like you said, from the very first day, like, hey, so I'm super excited.
For your own kind of knowledge, as the kids like leave the classroom for the day, you could have them do the stamp again. And then after they leave, you could kind of see, like, you can be like, okay, this is where we started the day. And then this is where we ended the day. And if you realize that like everyone's leaving the day mad, then you need to change some things. But if everyone's leaving the day happy or mad, then, like maybe you're, I don't know.
Maybe I don't want to know. Maybe it's better just to do it at the beginning of the day when I haven't done anything to possibly cause them to have angst or whatever.
Totally.
That's a really good idea. And then that could even be the conversation that we lead into the following day. What happened in our day yesterday to take us from 17 smiley faces to 3 smiley faces. And so, that's good. We do try to have a really open dialogue, open relationship. There's such a fine line. Like you can't be their friend, but you can be pretty much everything else. Their counselor, their cheerleader, their teacher, their parent half the time. It's just it's really interesting. Every kid needs something different, so you have to be everything all the time. But if everybody's kind of coming from the same place, with this understanding of what meditation can do and what it can do for us as individuals, and I think it'll be really good to have everybody have the same baseline, the same vocabulary, the same understanding. I think it'll be good.
I think like when you have that, so like you asked what meditation, like what's the goal of it or whatever, and I said it's to get to know yourself. But I think a byproduct of meditation that ends up happening is that you're a little more empathetic. So I think like when you realize like, okay, I have these individual thoughts, I have these things that I'm going through in my mind. It's just only natural that you think, oh, everyone else is also has their things. Like you might not know what those things are, but you know that there are things for people. So like I feel like it makes for a little more compassion, in your daily life, where you're like, okay, I see that person is about to lose their mind, or they're getting mad, or, whatever it is. And you're just a little more compassionate about like, oh man, like I've done that, or, so I think a byproduct of compassion comes through with the practice of meditation, which is again that whole like dichotomy, because like you're focusing on yourself, but all of a sudden you're realizing that there's all of these other people you're co-creating with. So it's
it like you said, it is interesting because you're like recognizing that you are an individual, but then you're also recognizing that you are an individual within a community of individuals. You still all have to coexist together as individual people. And if you can kind of figure out how to acknowledge your worries or your anxieties and figure out how to take care of them for yourself, then you can apply that to helping others, which in turn will help the good of, pretty much everybody of the group. So
I think it's this is just it really is revolutionary to be teaching kids meditation. Like
I'm so excited. I think this is going to be so good for the kids. And like I said, for me too. And so I'm just going to stick a sign on my door. Like, you don't get to come in, Principal Anderson. He's always coming in to cause trouble. Very good naturedly. Be like, nope, stay away. We're meditating.
Just have that purple sign on the door, meditation in progress.
Right. I'm just going to leave it on there all day. Just don't bother us ever. Just let us do our own thing.
We're learning here, damn it.
Yeah, exactly. Before we sign off, my mom wanted to make sure that I told you hi.
Oh,
she was just like she was so excited because I was telling her about this yesterday, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, you tell her hi." And
Yeah,
so.
I know. I was explaining to my husband like how I know you, and I was like, remember the tree farm when we cut down trees for like Christmas with the kids? And he's like, oh yeah, like because so he's met your dad and mom, and I'm pretty sure they chatted for a long time when like, they were in the barn with some cider and.
Yep, that sounds about right.
Yeah. So like, and then I was laughing. I was like, yeah, I think I've talked to her parents more since high school than her.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. Like you are the first person I think I've talked to other than Abe Ritter in 25 years. Wow. I mean, I just don't, you know, high school was not a fantastic time in my life. And I don't really choose to think about high school at all, ever. But it was just so random. I had that, I think I told you, I think I had that dream or whatever it was about you. And I was like, you know, I just need to let her know I'm thinking of her. And then your Facebook post started showing up. And then I had this idea. I was like, whoa, this is like the universe is speaking to me right now.
Yeah, because
it was weird.
I mean, and it's so funny because I also have been thinking about this whole, and I've talked to Karah about it a bunch, and like, we're always trying to like, we want to make like curriculum that people could like have online because we know these, like we have these tools,
right?
But like bridging that like gap of getting it to an audience is like, it's kind of like, it's hard to know where to start and, you know, where, but this is perfect because you're an actual teacher and you're in front of kids every day and you have the desire to teach this. For sure. And so like, this is where I think things start, you know, like we'll give you all these resources. And then I feel like you're going to discover some things that are like even that whole stamp thing, I'm like, mind blown already, you know, and you haven't even started teaching.
Yeah. I'm like going to go online and see if I can buy smiley face and frowny face and mask stamps next. Like as soon as we stop. But I was thinking when we can open back up, you should totally just come into the class and be with us. Like,
that'd be,
you know, and
awesome.
It would be so, and the kids love it when they have somebody else to occupy their day rather than me. They're like, yay, somebody else.
And I could bring my crystal bowls and play them. It'll like blow their minds.
Yeah, it would it totally would. I'm going to tell them all about you and like hype you up. And then when we can have volunteers back in, I'm totally just going to invite you in and they'll just be like, yay. It'll be like they know you already. So that'll be awesome.
It'll be awesome because I know I've done things similar to this with my own kids' classes. And I had one teacher when we were living in Westport, I'd gone in to read my kids' book. And it's about like a bird who poofs art. And so I had like gone in and the teacher told me that from the moment that I was there, she said her kids' perspectives changed. She's like, the whole class shifted and they would walk out to the you know, playground and they would say, that looks like a heart, or that looks like this, or, you know, like, she's like, all of a sudden they were like engaging their creativity so much. And it was one story you told them, like, you know,
well, and it was somebody new. Like I definitely become very much a mom to them where I will say things and it's like our kids with us, you say it and they just like, okay, whatever. After 3 years, like I really am like a second mom to a lot of these kids. And it's just like, but one new person comes in, says the exact same thing I've been saying for how long. And it's like, whoa, really? That's genius.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Because it reinforces it and it gives them another like, you know, like a person of authority or something, you know, because
well, it's just somebody new, you know, somebody new, it's a new voice, it's a new face. And it's so good to have volunteers and other people in the classroom just to, you know, mix things up a bit. So
that's so cool.
I will totally let you know. I know as a building, we're going to reevaluate in October, assuming things don't go super downhill about volunteers. And by then we'll have hopefully been doing it for a couple months. And so
it'll be perfect.
It'll be awesome.
That's perfect. Cause I'll go to Peru in September and then October I'll be back. So,
yeah, we'll just plan to like make a day of it or something.
I would love it. Like I would absolutely love it. Like I'm already like planning what I'm going to do in my mind.
Yeah, well, definitely, because I would be all over that. I know how much the kids would love it. They're going to love this. I'm 100% positive on that. And then, you know, for me to tell them about you and then have you come in, it'd just be fantastic. So
it'll be awesome. I'm so excited. Like,
yeah.
Okay. Oh, everyone's trying to get on my next call.
Right.
So I'm going to have to run, but
Okay.
Sadie, it's been like just a pure pleasure.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, we're not very far apart. We should totally try to like get together in person at some point.
Yeah, we should.
So,
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Much
Thank
love.
you so much, Krystal.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
If you like what I'm creating here on my virtual campfire, please subscribe and give me 5-star reviews so that I know these conversations are worthwhile to others. I love doing this and I hope you love listening. Thank you.